Welcome to Managing the Future, the MIS podcast. Today, we're embarking on a really crucial deep dive. We're looking at Module 22, Emerging Technologies. Now, this deep dive, it's crafted specifically for you. Maybe you're a Dr. Sam Pack College of Business student, or perhaps you're already on your way, a budding business professional. Or maybe you're just someone, intensely curious about how management, business operations, and information systems are being reshaped, like right now. Our mission here is to help you really grasp the key concepts, the cutting-edge ideas that aren't just, theoretical anymore. They're actively shaping your future. And hey, to stay updated and join our conversation, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, and definitely comment.
That's absolutely right. And for our insights today, we're drawing directly from, a really authoritative source. The textbook, Connect Master, Management Information Systems. That's by Richard Tedmon and H.Schuessler Wilhelm, published by McGraw Hill. 2024 edition. It's funny. Many of us grew up watching science fiction, right? Imagining things like computers are diagnosing illness without even touching a patient, or maybe placing orders just with your voice. Things that seem like, distant dreams. But now they're actually becoming part of our everyday reality. And the speed, the pace of this advancement, it's truly breathtaking. So today we're going to really dig into some of these newest emerging technologies. Some are already here. Others, they'll very soon be commonplace, in your lives, in your careers. We'll explore how they fundamentally work and, maybe more importantly for you, what they actually mean for business.
Okay, fantastic. Let's unpack this first incredible area, how emerging technologies are just revolutionizing medicine. And this isn't just about, cool gadgets. It's really about entirely new ways to deliver healthcare, manage all that patient data, even develop treatments. So from a business and operational standpoint, what's truly making waves here?
Right, because when we talk medicine, it's bigger than just the doctor's office, isn't it? It's the whole ecosystem. Diagnosis, treatment, ongoing care. Take something like robotic hearts. This sounds like pure sci-fi. But MIT engineers are actually using 3D printing to develop custom, soft, flexible robotic hearts. And they're tailored precisely to a patient's exact heart shape. Now, if you're a business student, the so what here isn't just the medical miracle, amazing as that is.
Yeah.
It's the profound impact this has on manufacturing, on supply chains, on personalized healthcare delivery. Imagine a world where medical devices are bespoke, right? Made on demand, not just mass produced.
Yeah.
That changes everything. Inventory management, patient-specific billing, the whole model.
That is fascinating. That shifts from mass production to, mass customization, something so critical. Like organ replacement. And it's not just about replacement organs, is it? I'm thinking about how data and AI, how they're assisting doctors now. How is something like smart medical imaging software changing the game for, say, hospitals and radiologists?
Oh, absolutely. Smart medical imaging software is a perfect example of AI augmenting human expertise, not replacing it. It basically helps radiologists interpret images by cross-referencing them with vast patient records and previous scans, and then it can suggest diagnoses, maybe even potential treatments. Think of it less as a replacement for the radiologist and more like an incredibly powerful, tireless assistant, one that can spot patterns maybe a human might miss, especially, under pressure or fatigue. So from a business perspective, what does this mean? Faster, probably more accurate diagnoses that can lead to better patient outcomes, maybe fewer readmissions, and definitely more efficient use of expensive equipment and highly skilled staff. It's a huge driver for operational efficiency in a hospital setting.
Okay, so we're seeing AI really enhancing those diagnostic capabilities. That makes sense. And beyond diagnosis, what about protecting patients and staff? In a very direct, tangible way, like with these autonomous virus-killing robots. How are they changing hospital operations, especially after, everything we've experienced globally recently?
Yeah, these are potentially game changer, specifically for hospital sanitation and public health. You've got companies like Intel developing AI-powered robots, one's called Violet, for example, and they're being tested right now for UV light disinfection. So for hospital administrators, think about it. This means an automated, consistent, and highly effective way to sterilize rooms, operating theaters, you name it. It reduces human error, frees up staff for actual direct patient care.
Right.
And during huge challenges like the COVID-19 pandemic, these robots can provide a critical layer of safety. They minimize exposure risks for staff, help maintain really high standards of cleanliness without constant human oversight. Ultimately, that enhances the hospital's overall capacity and its safety profile. It's a big deal operationally.
That's a really clear operational benefit. And when we talk about patient care, you mentioned the ecosystem. We can't ignore the connective tissue of technology, can we? The Internet of Medical Things. or IOMT. That played such a crucial role during the pandemic, didn't it? How does this whole network of devices impact healthcare delivery on a broader scale?
Oh, it truly redefined remote care. You're right. IOMT, it's a specific flavor, if you will, of the Internet of Things, but focused entirely on medical devices and applications. During the pandemic, it was absolutely instrumental. Think remote patient monitoring. It allowed individuals to self-quarantine, maybe self-screen at home, but still transmit vital data back to their healthcare providers. We also saw it facilitating things like regional electronic health record integration, which helped speed up COVID-19 screening. And just generally, it gave telemedicine a huge boost. Now, for you as business students, understanding IOMT is key because it's not just about the devices themselves. It's about the data flow, the cloud infrastructure behind it, the cybersecurity challenges, huge ones there, and the potential for entirely new business models like subscription-based healthcare services or remote patient management platforms. It fundamentally changes how healthcare is accessed and delivered. It could bring care to underserved areas, maybe reduce costs for both patients and providers. It's transformative.
That idea of seamlessly integrated data, it really highlights how connected our health future is becoming. And speaking of data and AI, you mentioned it's not just about looking at existing molecules anymore. How is AI revolutionizing drug discovery? What does that mean for the whole pharmaceutical industry?
This is honestly a monumental shift for pharma. Traditionally, drug discovery is, well, it's long, incredibly expensive, and often involves a lot of trial and error.
Right, years and billions.
Exactly. But now AI and machine learning software, they're exploring these massive databases of existing molecules. And not just that, they're even predicting new drug-like compounds, theoretically, from like all known atoms in the solar system. It's mind-blowing stuff. Think about what that enables. They can simulate interactions between molecules, identify promising candidates much faster, even help design molecules that might work better than anything we currently have. This accelerates the entire drug development pipeline. What took years might now take months, maybe even weeks in some cases. That drastically cuts R&D costs and could bring life-saving treatments to market much, much faster. It's basically data-driven innovation at an unprecedented scale. And for companies, it creates a huge competitive advantage if they can master this technology. And, related to this, we're also seeing machine learning techniques diagnose diseases like Alzheimer's. Just by analyzing speech patterns, they're achieving something like 71% accuracy in minutes.
Just from speech?
Just from speech patterns. The implications for early detection are incredible. Timely interventions, better disease management, which, again, has huge downstream effects on healthcare costs and, of course, quality of life.
The idea of designing molecules from scratch and diagnosing complex diseases through speech patterns. It just blows my mind, really. The implications for the entire healthcare business model are just massive. Okay. Let's shift gears a bit. Let's unpack this next area. How these technologies are reshaping the very fabric of how we buy and sell. Commerce. From logistics all the way to payment systems. Commerce, at its heart, is about movement and exchange, right? How are these emerging technologies profoundly impacting everything? Ordering, payments, delivery, the whole chain.
That's a great way to frame it. Yeah, movement and exchange. And the movement of goods, that's foundational. And that's where innovations like self-driving trucks really come into play. These aren't just a far-off concept anymore. They're being designed, tested for long-distance highway travel without a human driver. Think about the potential to dramatically reduce labor costs, maybe even improve safety over those long hauls. Companies like Otto, they've already demonstrated this capability. They use systems like LiDAR. Yeah, it's like light detection and ranging. Think of it as a very sophisticated radar, but using lasers to map the environment in 3D, really detailed. So for businesses, especially in logistics and retail, this could mean truly optimized supply chains, more predictable delivery times, and a really significant shift in logistics employment and the infrastructure needed to support it. It's a definite game changer for industries reliant on ground transport.
Okay, so we're talking about a future where goods practically move themselves, at least on highways. It's huge. And then on the consumer side, the way we actually pay for things is also evolving super rapidly.
Right.
Facial recognition, payment technology. I mean, it sounds incredibly convenient, but what are the business implications? Beyond just, being easy.
Oh, it's definitely convenient, no doubt. It offers a pretty seamless payment method just by matching your biometric information, your face, from a secure database. Think about the speed at checkout, maybe in a busy coffee shop, no fumbling for cards or your phone.
Right.
The technology is also getting smarter. It often incorporates what's called a liveness test. That's to prevent fraud from just holding up a photo. It checks for subtle movements, blinking, things like that.
Huh? Okay.
So for businesses, the upsides are clear. Faster transaction times, potentially improved customer experience, less friction at the point of sale, which could lead to higher sales volumes. Makes sense. However, and this is a big however, it also brings up significant considerations around data privacy, secure data storage, and crucially, consumer trust.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Exactly. Businesses need to navigate that very carefully. It's always this balance, isn't it? Convenience versus privacy and security.
Oh, seems to be that balance. Yeah. Convenience versus privacy.
Yeah.
Okay, and then for moving people, and maybe cargo too, at truly unprecedented speeds.
Right.
Richard Branson's Virgin Hyperloop. I mean, this sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi blockbuster, but you're saying it's rapidly becoming real.
Right.
What's the potential business impact here?
It's definitely moving beyond just a dream. Virgin Hyperloop actually completed the world's first passenger Hyperloop ride a little while back. Small scale, but they did it. And the goal, the ambition, is to carry passengers and cargo at over 600 miles per hour.
Wow, 600 mile per hour.
Yeah, that's more than twice the speed of a typical commercial jet. They're hoping for commercial certification, maybe by 2030. So imagine the impact that could have on regional travel, on freight logistics, even on urban planning.
Right.
For businesses, this could mean radically compressed supply chains. Imagine getting just-in-time delivery across vast distances. It could open up totally new markets for perishable goods, for example, or even redefine where employees can live versus where they need to work. It's a massive infrastructure investment, obviously, but it could create entirely new industries and completely reshape existing ones. So it presents both incredible opportunities and, frankly, significant competitive threats, depending on where you sit.
That really is a true disruptive innovation for transportation, potentially.
Okay. And finally, in this commerce section, what about the sort of digital backbone that supports all this? These industry cloud platforms, they sound absolutely essential for any business professional, especially our listeners, to understand how do they actually create value.
Yeah, they're increasingly becoming the strategic engine for modern businesses, you're right. Industry cloud platforms, they aren't just generic cloud services like, basic storage or computing power. They're specialized solutions that integrate different cloud services, software as a service, SaaS, platform as a service, PAN, infrastructure as a service, EHS, but they integrate them into a unified industry-specific ecosystem.
Ah, so tailored.
Exactly. So a platform designed for healthcare will look very different from one built for retail or for manufacturing. They create value by providing tailored functionalities, maybe pre-built integrations that are common in that industry, specific compliance frameworks.
This helps boost revenue by enabling faster digital transformation, accelerating innovation, and providing a competitive edge through specialized capabilities that a generic, one-size-fits-all cloud solution just can't offer. So for businesses, it means less time and money spent on custom development, faster time to market for new digital services, and a more robust, compliant digital foundation. They're really important.
Okay, that makes sense. So moving on, here's where it gets really interesting, I think, especially for us as future business leaders. How are these innovations impacting society as a whole, beyond just commerce? Think public safety, data privacy, even creative industries. What are the broader societal roles these emerging technologies are playing?
Yeah, this section helps us see the wider ripple effect, right, beyond just the profit margins. How technology affects everything from public safety to, like you said, artistic creation. Let's start with one that's pretty crucial for public services and urban management: predictive policing. Now, this is essentially a machine learning application. It uses information technology, geospatial tech mapping, basically, and evidence-based models to try and predict and react to crimes before they happen or as they're happening. For city managers, for law enforcement, it's about leveraging data to try and be more proactive, to optimize how they allocate resources, potentially improve public safety by anticipating high crime areas or times. It really asks us as a society to consider how data analysis can enhance or potentially complicate civic operations. There are debates around it, of course.
Right, a lot of ethical considerations there too, I imagine.
Definitely.
Okay, so that's a significant shift in how public safety might operate, moving towards data-driven prevention, potentially. And then on a completely different note, it sounds like AI isn't just about crunching numbers anymore, but it's also getting, creative. Can you tell us more about how AI is now composing music? That sounds wild.
It is truly fascinating, isn't it? AI is now using really complex mathematical algorithms. You see this in platforms like Amper or Baidu's AI Composer, even Google's Magenta project. They're using these algorithms to create original, often royalty-free music compositions. And this isn't just like generating random noise. The AI learns from vast data sets of existing human-composed music. It learns about structure, harmony, melody, rhythm.
Wow.
So for businesses, especially in media, advertising, video games, content creation, this is potentially huge. It means you could rapidly generate background music, jingles, maybe even full scores for films or games without the traditional costs and time associated with human composers and music licensing.
Right, the licensing fees alone.
Exactly. It's a really compelling example of how AI is entering and, frankly, disrupting creative industries. It opens up totally new business models for content generation.
It's incredible to think about algorithms composing original scores that people might actually listen to.
Okay.
And, in this increasingly data-rich world we live in, protecting individual information while still being able to gather valuable insights for, like, the collective good. That seems paramount. How does something called differential privacy address this challenge?
Yeah, this is a really critical technique for managing these vast data sets responsibly. Differential privacy, it's used by big organizations like the U.S. Census Bureau. Apple uses it. Facebook uses it. It allows them to collect aggregate data, trends across millions of users, while maintaining individual privacy.
Wait, how does it work, though?
Well, imagine you want to understand broad patterns in a population, but you absolutely don't want to know anything specific about any single person in that data set. Differential privacy achieves this by mathematically adding a carefully calculated amount of statistical noise to the data before it's analyzed. It's just enough noise to obscure the details of any one individual, making them effectively anonymous within the crowd. But it's small enough that the overall patterns and trends across the large group remain clear and statistically valid.
Interesting.
So for businesses, this is becoming vital. For building trust with customers, for complying with evolving privacy regulations like GDPR.
Right, GDPR.
And for leveraging big data for insights without compromising individual rights. It's a complex mathematical concept, but it's an essential tool for ethical data management today.
Okay, so it's kind of like seeing the forest without being able to identify any individual trees. That's a crucial balance for responsible data use, for sure. All right, let's transition again. So what does all this technology mean for our planet, for the environment? Let's dive into the emerging technologies impacting that sphere. And this isn't just about, saving the planet in an abstract sense. It's about new industries popping up, huge new investment opportunities, and new ways businesses can, and probably must, operate sustainably.
You're absolutely right. It's a massive area of innovation with really significant business and economic implications. This area focuses on innovations designed specifically to address environmental challenges, particularly those aimed at reducing carbon impact and monitoring our world better. One truly fascinating development, I think, is hot solar cells. MIT scientists have created something called a photonic crystal. It captures solar energy as heat, stores it temporarily, and then converts that heat back into light, but a type of light that solar cells are much more efficient at converting to electricity.
Okay, so more efficient.
Way more efficient. The result they're seeing is efficiency potentially over twice that of current standard solar cells. And here's the really cool part. Because they store the energy as heat first, they can actually continue to produce energy after sunset.
Whoa, after sunset.
Yeah, by releasing that stored heat as light. Now, they say it's still maybe 10, 15 years away from being commercially viable, but for energy companies, for investors, this represents a potential revolution in solar power generation. It could make solar a much more consistent, reliable energy source, lessening the reliance on massive grid battery storage solutions. It's attracting huge interest.
Twice the efficiency in producing energy after dark. That really does sound like the holy grail for solar power. A huge investment opportunity, like you said. Okay, what about capturing carbon? We hear so much about carbon emissions being the problem. Are there technologies to actually remove it?
Yes, that's a massive challenge, obviously, but several technologies are tackling it head-on. One approach is ionic liquids carbon capture, or ILS. This uses special non-volatile salts. Think of them like specialized sponges for CO2. They can absorb far more CO2 than the traditional methods. They're apparently easier to store without leakage, and they require less energy to produce and regenerate. Then there's direct air carbon capture, or DAC. This is even more ambitious. It literally involves pulling vast amounts of ambient air, just the air around us, through huge filtration systems.
Pulling it out of the air itself.
Exactly. Using special chemical scrubbers, often amine-based, to capture the CO2 directly from the air. The captured carbon then usually needs to be stored somewhere, often deep underground in depleted oil reservoirs, like over 3,000 feet deep. Therefore, businesses, these technologies are basically creating whole new industries focused on carbon management. They offer potential solutions for companies trying to offset their own emissions, maybe creating a future market for traded captured carbon. And they're driving significant investment into sustainable infrastructure. It's about creating an entirely new value chain centered around carbon removal.
It's pretty incredible to think about pulling carbon straight out of the thin air we breathe. Okay. And thinking about transportation again, but specifically air travel this time. Airbus's zero-emission concept, the zero plane. That sounds truly ambitious. What exactly are they envisioning there?
Yeah, this is Airbus putting a big stake in the ground for sustainable aviation. It's a bold vision. They've announced 3 distinct concepts for what they hope will be the world's first zero-emission commercial aircraft. And their target date is ambitious, aiming to be ready by 2035.
2035. That's not that far away.
Not really in aerospace terms. The concepts include different designs. A turbofan, a turboprop, and a more radical blended wing body design. The key thing is they're all designed to be powered primarily by hydrogen, either burned directly or used in fuel cells to generate electricity. Now, for the airline industry, this represents a fundamental shift away from fossil fuels. It's driven partly by environmental responsibility, sure, but also by, anticipating stricter regulations.
Right.
It's going to require absolutely massive R&D investment, completely new fuel infrastructure at airports worldwide, and a total reimagining of aircraft design and operations. But for the companies that innovate successfully here, aircraft manufacturers, engine makers, maybe even fuel suppliers, it's a chance to lead the next generation of air travel. That means potentially gaining a significant competitive advantage in a world that's increasingly and rightly focused on sustainability.
Yeah, it's really exciting to imagine flying on a zero-emission commercial aircraft, potentially within our own lifetimes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive into our final major section, the core drivers of a lot of this innovation science and computing. These fundamental advancements, they often underpin many of the other technologies we've already talked about across medicine, commerce, society. What's truly foundational here for you, our listeners, the future business leaders?
Right. This section covers some specific advances in computing and information systems that really form the bedrock for so much of this rapid change we're seeing. And a critical area for any business professional today, maybe the most critical, is cybersecurity. That's where a concept called digital immune systems, or DIS, comes in. This is an emerging approach to network and computer security that literally tries to mimic the human immune system.
Mimic the immune system.
Well, just like our bodies learn to recognize and fight off viruses and bacteria, a DIS uses cutting-edge algorithms, a lot of machine learning, to continuously monitor, detect, analyze, and neutralize cyber threats in real time or near real time. It learns and adapts. So for businesses, this means building a much more robust, more adaptive, and more proactive defense against these ever-evolving cyber threats. It's about protecting sensitive data, ensuring business continuity, maintaining customer trust, all absolute non-negotiables in today's digital economy.
The idea of a self-healing adaptive security system, that's incredibly compelling for any business, I'd imagine. And speaking of AI again, AI chatbots, they've certainly exploded into the mainstream lately, haven't they? From customer service bots to things like ChatGPT. How exactly do they work fundamentally? And what are the big implications for businesses using them or dealing with their output?
Yeah, they're everywhere now. AI chatbots fundamentally are computer programs. They use algorithms, artificial intelligence, and a key technology called natural language processing, or NLP. NLP is what helps them interpret your inputs, what you type or say, and then provide automated, relevant responses. They're typically trained on absolutely massive data sets of human conversations and text, so they learn context, grammar, style, and how to generate increasingly sophisticated human-like replies. For businesses, the applications are obvious: transforming customer service, automating sales queries, providing internal employee support. They offer 247 availability, they can scale almost instantly to handle huge volumes, and they can even personalize interactions to some extent. However, with their rise, especially the really powerful generative ones, we've also seen the rapid emergence of AI chatbot detection tools, things like OpenAI's own AI text classifier, or tools like GPT-0. These tools analyze text and try to assign a probability score, rating it from very unlikely to likely to be human-generated versus AI-generated.
Right, I've seen those.
So for businesses, and particularly in education, this becomes crucial. For maintaining academic integrity, for verifying original content creation, for ensuring authenticity. Think about marketing copy, legal documents, student submissions. It's becoming a fascinating sort of arms race between AI generation and AI detection capabilities.
So tools to detect the output of other AI tools that really highlights the breakneck pace of change, doesn't it? And shifting from software to just raw hardware power. Exascale computers, you mentioned these briefly before, they're pushing the absolute limits of what's computationally possible. What does this kind of power actually mean for big business and big research?
Yeah, Exascale is the next frontier in supercomputing. These are a new class of machines with hardware so powerful. Well, the first true Exascale machine is reportedly about 2.5 times faster than the world's second fastest ranked supercomputer. We're talking about the ability to perform over a quintillion floating point calculations per second. That's a billion calculations.
That number's hard to even comprehend.
It really is. So for businesses, what does this mean? It means being able to run incredibly complex simulations that were just impossible before. Think ultra-detailed product design and testing, complex process optimization and manufacturing, sophisticated financial modeling, and risk analysis, all done at unprecedented speeds. It enables huge breakthroughs in scientific research, drug discovery, climate modeling, materials science, fundamental physics, AI development itself. Companies or research institutions that can harness Exascale computing will have a massive competitive edge in data analysis, modeling, and innovation. It could really transform entire industries, from manufacturing to finance to energy.
That is just a mind-boggling amount of processing power.
Okay.
And beyond just raw processing, we're seeing these immersive experiences growing really rapidly. You hear terms thrown around like VR, AR, MR. Can you clarify the different terms under the umbrella of extended reality or XR? It seems like it covers a lot of exciting tech.
It definitely does, and it's a hot area for business applications, for sure. XR, or extended reality, it's basically the umbrella term that covers all of these immersive technologies that somehow fuse the physical and virtual worlds. Let's try and break it down simply. First, you have virtual reality, VR. This typically involves wearing a headset that completely blocks out the real world and immerses you in a fully simulated digital environment. Think stepping entirely into another world. It's great for things like really immersive training simulations like practicing surgery or virtual product showcases, or of course, gaming.
Okay, fully virtual. Got it.
Then there's augmented reality, AR. AR overlays digital information, data, images, graphics onto your view of the real world. Usually, you experience this through your smartphone camera or maybe smart glasses. Think of those furniture apps that let you see how a virtual sofa would look in your actual living room. Or maybe interactive museum guides that pop up information as you look at exhibits. It adds to reality.
Right, layering digital on top of real.
Exactly. And then you have mixed reality, MR. MR tries to take it a step further. It aims to blend the virtual and physical environments so deeply that the real and digital objects can actually interact with each other in real time. Imagine having a 3D virtual model of a machine part floating in your physical office space, and you can walk around it, maybe manipulate it with your hands using gestures that the system recognizes.
So the virtual stuff is aware of the real stuff.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a more seamless blend. So for businesses across the board, XR technologies are transforming things like employee training, remote collaboration, product design, sales demonstrations, customer experiences, you name it. From virtual factory tours for potential clients to surgeons practicing complex procedures remotely using MR, it's creating entirely new ways to interact with information and, importantly, with each other.
Okay, that really helps clarify the distinctions. It's pretty clear these technologies are going to continue reshaping how we learn, work, and interact in big ways. All right, finally. And this one, this sounds like something straight out of a classic sci-fi novel, seriously. Room temperature superconductivity. If that actually becomes widespread and commercially viable, the implications are just absolutely enormous, aren't they?
Oh, they truly are. Monumental is probably not too strong a word. It would be a fundamental breakthrough in physics with absolutely radical business and societal implications. The University of Rochester made headlines recently with the discovery, claiming they created superconductive materials that operate at, or at least near, room temperatures and reasonable pressures. Historically, superconductivity, which is the amazing ability of some materials to conduct electricity with absolutely zero resistance, zero energy loss, has only worked at incredibly cold, cryogenic temperatures, making it really expensive and impractical for most uses.
Right, liquid nitrogen and all that.
Exactly. Now, if, and it's still a big if in terms of scaling it reliably and affordably, but if this can be achieved commercially at room temperature, just imagine the impact.
Yeah.
You could have inexpensive, incredibly efficient, massive batteries for grid-scale energy storage, solving the intermittency problem of renewables. You could have completely frictionlessly levitating trains maglev taken to a whole new level. You could have near-zero loss power lines capable of transmitting electricity thousands of miles across continents with almost no waste.
Wow.
This could utterly revolutionize energy grids, transportation systems, even computing hardware itself. It would drastically cut energy costs globally and open up entirely new markets and possibilities. It's definitely one of those technologies that, if it pans out, has the potential to truly reshape our global infrastructure in ways we can barely imagine right now.
What an absolutely incredible deep dive into this world of emerging technologies. We've really covered so much ground today, from robotic hearts, literally tailor-made for individual patients, all the way to zero-emission aircraft concepts and the mind-bending potential of room temperature superconductivity. It's just so clear that the future isn't something that's, coming way down the road. It's already unfolding right now. And these technologies, they're reshaping every single aspect of our lives and definitely our future careers.
Absolutely. And as you, our listeners, consider all these incredible advancements, especially thinking as future business professionals, maybe ask yourself this question: which one, just pick one, of these emerging technologies we talked about today, do you think will have the most significant impact on your chosen career path, or maybe your industry, over, say, the next decade? And importantly, why? How might you, in your future role, actually leverage that technology? Or, conversely, how might it disrupt the existing business models you'll be working with? It's worth thinking about.
Yeah, definitely food for thought. We would love to hear your thoughts and your predictions on that. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, and please do comment below to keep this conversation going. And stay tuned for our next deep dive. Thanks for joining us.